Hi everyone, all fine? We know that we are in the chapter solutions, and for 2 minutes let us just recall what all that we studied. We understood what is a mixture, homogeneous mixture, solution, volatile solute, non-volatile solute, lowering in vapor pressure, relative lowering in vapor pressure, Raoult's laws, positive deviation, negative deviation, azeotropes, elevation in boiling point, with the help of that calculation of molar mass, offers depression in freezing point, with that again calculation of molar masses of unknown substances. What I just said is just recall, so that will give you confidence, and you will say, yes, what all that I said just now, yes sir, this I know, this I know, this I know. Then afterwards we will go ahead. Before I go ahead, I just want to know to myself and ask you, sir, all this which we are studying, is it only for calculation of molar masses or any other use is there? Yes, there are uses. What are the uses? I have a liquid, water for example. It freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and boils at 100 degrees Celsius. And now suppose I say, I want a liquid which will boil at 110 degrees Celsius, freezes at -2 degrees Celsius. I need not search for any other liquid which is having those physical constants. I have water, to that water only I can add non-volatile solute and get it done, no? Job is over. So that will help us, that's application. Same way, depression in freezing point will help us to know the molar mass. Where else it will help? Where else it will help? Depression in freezing point is because of the non-volatile solute that is present in that. Where I can make use of this understanding. Suppose you are in your four-wheeler. Imagine you are driving in your car. And if your travel is to be safe, engine is to be cool. If engine is to be cool, there must be a coolant around the combustion that is taking place. That is what is in the car radiators. There is flow of water around that. That will keep the engine cool and you can travel longer distances. But if you are at temperatures where they are below 0 degrees Celsius, will your water run in the radiator and then cool the engine? No. What that which you have to do? What that which you have to do? Again, question. I should have a liquid moving around, keeping the engine cool. Don't think of any other liquid. Have water only, but to that water you add something. That will bring down the vapor pressure of the solution, and consequently that will bring down the freezing points. So that if that brings down the freezing points, even at temperatures which are less than 0, you can continue to travel. So what are those substances which I can add to water when I am living in areas, or when I am traveling in areas where temperatures are below the freezing points of water? So for that, just for 2 minutes, we will go back to some organic compounds which we have studied. What are those? I know what is it? It is methane. In place of hydrogen, I can have something. What is this group which we called methyl? If one more hydrogen is removed, what is that unit which we called? We call it as methylene. Same way, I can have ethane. I need not have 2 hydrogens. I call it as ethylene. Same way, I have propane. 2 hydrogens not there. Propylene. Sir, why these 2 hydrogens? Why not these 2? Yes, This is not there, that is not there. So, any two hydrogens you remove, any two hydrogens on different carbons remove. I call it as propylene. So, now after removing hydrogens, what will be there in that? In that place of hydrogen, what is there in that? Here no much use. If I have in place of one hydrogen, OH is there, methanol. If I remove this hydrogen and put one OH, I can do that. But somebody is telling, sir, you told two OH groups on the same carbon not possible, sir. Yes, keep that in mind. So, I will not remove this, let it be there. I will stop with that methanol. But here I can, in place of these two hydrogens, I can have OH groups. What is the name that I can give for this? We all know. 1,2-ethane diol, fine. Instead of calling 1,2-ethane diol, there is another name. Last year only we have understood. So, if two OH groups are adjacent carbons, they are alcohol systems, and we give what the name? Glycol. This is 1,2-ethane diol, or I will call it as ethylene glycol. Here, out of 3 hydrogens, what is that which I have removed? That hydrogen is there. In place of that hydrogen, I have OH group. What is the name that I can give for this compound? 1,3-propane diol. 1,3-propane diol. Propylene. 1,3-propane diol. Can I call it propylene glycol? I can't call it propylene glycol. Why? OH groups are not on adjacent carbons. If OH groups are on adjacent carbons, then only I can call it as the glycol system, glycol, propylene glycol. And what is found is, to that water, if I add such compounds like ethylene glycol, propylene glycol, the freezing point of water will go below 0 degrees Celsius. So, in that car radiator, what that which I can do? I can mix with these two substances or one of them with that, and then prepare a solution, and that solution I will put into my radiator and run the vehicle coolly. That is the advantage of learning a non-volatile solute if it is present. That will lower the vapor pressure, that will lower the freezing point. That is the use, not just to find out molar masses. In daily life, it will help me that way. Otherwise, if you do not have this understanding, you have to keep searching for, in place of water, what I should pour and which will help me to keep my engine cool. Do not worry, this is there. This will help. Clear? And one more thing which we had understood on the same lines, if all the 3 hydrogens are substituted by OH groups, what is that compound? Last year, we had understood. In manufacture of soap, byproducts, good, somebody is saying. Glycerine, we understood at length what are the uses of glycerine. So, you know what are glycols, what are those substances which can be used in decreasing the freezing points. So, these substances if I add to water, freezing point will further decrease. Freezing point will further decrease, that means it will prevent water from undergoing freezing. They prevent water from undergoing freezing. That means these substances which I add, I call them as antifreeze. So, this understanding for depression in freezing point, and later I can understand what are antifreezes, that will help me, right. And there is one more use of it. You are in areas where temperatures are 0 and below 0. Fine, you have taken care of your antifreeze, you are going in a vehicle, but on the road right? There are huge ice blocks. What to do? You have taken one precaution, you want to go ahead, but there is another big problem ahead. Ice is there, road is blocked. What to do? Nothing to do. Just put a tent and sleep till sun rises there and all the ice melts away, and then after you plan your journey. Will you do that? No. If there is no chance of any sun rays in that area, ice melting, no chance. But what is the way out? What is the way out? Very simple, right? When you are on the such process, right, carry large amount of salt with you, right? Okay, you need not carry, right? Government will take care of it. When they know that there are so many vehicles coming, traffic is there, their job is to clear the road and make the vehicles pass. So what that which they do with salt? They simply pour salt onto the road which is blocked with ice. Now what happens if I pour salt onto the ice? What will happen? Okay, that is the ice block. Pour salt on that. So that means now salt is on the surface of the ice. On the surface, moisture is there. In that moisture, will the salt remain? It will dissolve. Once it dissolves, now there is solution. And once it becomes solution, particles of the salt will percolate down, and then afterwards, this solid which you had, that solid which got sprinkled on that, it has lowered the vapor pressure. So once it has lowered the vapor pressure, what will happen? Once it has lowered the vapor pressure of the solid, what will happen? Yesterday we understood, freezing point is the temperature where vapor pressure of the solid form and liquid form become equal. Melting point, freezing point, yesterday we discussed. Now vapor pressure decreases. Once vapor pressure decreases, it can't remain in the solid form. It can't remain in the solid form, it will melt and it will give the way for you. Is it clear? So, how to depress the freezing point? Add a non-volatile solute, depression in freezing point. You don't want ice to exist there. Pour salt, wait for some time. Right? Water will just, in the liquid state, move away. Your track becomes clear, travel. Clear? Keep this in mind. Continuing further, I have a rectangular box and I have made a partition. One side I will put A, another side I put B, some matter. Why some matter? Tell what is the matter, no? Is it solid, liquid, gas? You tell. Okay, first I will take solid A and B. Solid matter is put there. I want A to go to that side, B to come this side, or mix up. They will not mix up. Why? There is a partition, they can't go. Okay, remove this partition. Will they mix up? No. Why they will not mix up? Now we will say, sir, they are solids, they are not fluids, they can't move from one side to other side. Fine. So they will not mix up. In place of solids, suppose A and B are gases. If both of them are gases, will they mix up? No, they will not mix up. Why? There is a partition. I want them to mix up. Now don't say, sir, remove that partition. No, I don't want to remove the partition. I want A and B to mix up. What other way? Make a hole. Make a hole. Let that partition be there. That small hole is enough for particles of A to go or particles of B to go across to the other side. Now tell me, once I make a hole, will A go from this side or will B come from that side? right? Now, if I say A will go from this side to that B side, there must be some reason. What is the reason? Yes, sir. This A, if it is at a higher pressure, it will go to the other side. And when it goes to the other side, what will happen? This pressure decreases, that pressure increases. For how long A will go from this side to that side? Till both sides pressures become equal. Once both sides pressures become equal, then what will happen? A can go from that side, B can come from that. There is a free movement now from one side to other side. For this, right, we have learned, or we have given a term for this. If particles move from one side to other side, till they become equal in concentration, pressure, whatever it is. What is it? That is, continue, starts with a D. Yes? Somebody is saying diffusion. Diffusion takes place at afterwards both sides once pressure become equal, then afterwards I will have particles of A, particles of B almost evenly on both sides. Now next question, if both of them are liquids, you know they are fluids, as long as that partition is there, they can't move. And if they have to move, and if I don't want to remove the partition, if I make a hole, no, I don't want to make a hole now. Without making a hole, I want to have a partition, but I want particles to go from one side to other side. What is that which I can do? Yes, in other subjects you have studied. Say, yes sir, there are some membranes which will help particles from one side to go other side. Membranes. Partition is that membrane. Now, will the particles go from one side to other side? It depends on the character of the membrane. And you have studied different types of membranes. There is a membrane, but particles don't go from one side to other side. What is that which I call that? That is impermeable. Impermeable membrane. If impermeable membrane is there, nothing can go from one side to other side. But if I want particles of A to go other side, or particles of B to come from that side to this side, that means it is a permeable membrane. It permeates. Membrane, impermeable, permeable. Next, I want only one type of particles to go from one side to the other side. A can go from this side, B can go from this side, if the character of membrane is permeable. Now, if I want only particles of A to go from that side to other side, not B to come from this side, right? Then, if only one type of particles can go from one side to other side, that means it is selecting. Selectively permeable, impermeable, permeable, selectively permeable. Selectively permeable. Here again, if we go further in detail, I have solvent here, liquid, and I have a solution, right, with that solvent. Now I want solvent particles to go from one side to other side. That means now I want only solvent particles to go from one side to other side. That means indirectly I am talking about, that means it permits only solvent particles to go. But if only solvent particles go from one side to other side, we give a different name for that. That is semi-permeable. So, what will semi-permeable membrane do? It will permit only solvent particles to go from one side to other side. Which side to which side? One side to other side means from which side to other side. I have solvent here, solution with that solvent. Now, see where the percentage of, where the percentage of solvent is high. Here only solvent is there. That side you have got your solution. In the solution, concentration of solvent is less. Here 100% solvent. So concentration of solvent is high, concentration of solvent is less. Like gas goes from high pressure to low pressure and upwards equate. Here what will happen? Solvent from its higher concentration to lower concentration go when membrane permits. It permits only one type, semi-permeable membrane. So if solvent particles migrate from its high concentration to its lower concentration side, we give a name for that. Not new for you, already studied, right? What is that? Osmosis. What happens in osmosis? In osmosis, solvent particles from its higher concentration side goes to the other side where concentration of solvent is less. Osmosis. Where you come across this in life? Right? Take for example a grape, dry, put it in water. Right? Inside the grape small amount of moisture is there. Put it inside water. Leave it for some time and see. You have a swollen grape. Why? What happened? Inside you have water within that grape. Once you put in water, what will happen? Outside water is in large amount. Inside water is small amount. What will water do? It will enter into the grape. The outer covering of that grape, it is permitting semi-permeable membrane. So through that membrane, water will enter inside. Inside, the concentration will decrease. Why concentration will decrease? Solvent is entering. So as solvent enters inside, it swells. The swelling is because of osmosis taking place. Then one more. Right, you have got a tall tree. At the tip of the tree, right, there is necessity of water for photosynthesis, all that. And where is water? Water is there in the ground. So water which is present in the ground, how will it reach to the tip of the tree for photosynthesis to take place and all the leaves to survive? How? You know, right, there are cells connected. So what will happen? Inside the cell, like your grape, amount of water is less. What will happen? Water will enter into that cell. So once water amount increases in the cell, what will happen? There is adjacent cell. In that adjacent cell, in that adjacent cell, amount of water is less. Amount of water is less. And when the amount of water is less, again from this cell to that cell, water will enter. And as water enters like this, as water enters into the grape and swelling of the grape takes place, water which is there in the ground will enter into the cells of the root. From there it will continue, because the cell which is directly in contact with water will have an entry for water, that will increase the concentration of water in that cell. There is adjacent cell in which concentration of water is less, this water will enter there, this water will enter there, finally it reaches to the top. Who is helping for the tip of the tree to get water? The process of osmosis is helping. It is not diffusion, it is osmosis that is helping. Clear? Now, taking it further. Now, from here to that side, water will enter, we know, from higher concentration. Now, what I have is a semi-permeable membrane, understood, but solvent, pure solvent, separated from its solution with a semi-permeable membrane. I do not want osmosis to take place. sir, what is this? Once you tell this will take place, this will help us. Now I don't want this to take place. Mad or what? This is our normal talking, is it not? Yes. I don't want the water from entering from this side to that side. So what I should do? Okay, I'll stand this side, and any water molecule that wants to enter this side, I will say, don't come this side. Don't come this side. Can I do that? Can I sit there and do it? No. So what that which I should do? We know. Exert pressure on the B side, and this pressure inside is evenly distributed. When it is evenly distributed, that means it is on the membrane also. So I need not sit. Pressure you exert will prevent particles coming from that side. So this pressure which I exert on the solution, for what? To prevent osmosis from taking place. We give a name for that. We have no other job. Understand this, create a problem, for that we give some other term and go ahead with that. This is process of education. That will later help us to understand something. So we give a name for that. What is the name for that I can give? Osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. What is osmotic pressure? The amount of pressure that I have to exert on the solution to prevent osmosis from taking place or solvent coming to that side. Simple. Now, how much pressure I have to exert? Next question. No other job for us. Once you understand how much, that, this and all. How much I have to exert? It depends on, right, with what force solid particles want to come from that side to this side. With what force solid particles come to this side, want to come this side means it depends on what the concentration of the solution. Higher the concentration, that means lower the concentration of the solvent here. Here, higher is the concentration of solvent. With greater force they want to come inside, that means take it to or exert greater pressures. So amount of osmotic pressure which I have to observe, or osmotic pressure depends on the concentration of the solution. So osmotic pressure is proportional to, earlier we understood, relative lowering in vapor pressure, elevation in boiling point is proportional to, we came across all this. Now same thing, osmotic pressure is proportional to concentration of the solution. And once I know concentration of the solution, finally we can end up with the molar mass. Clear? So this we will see tomorrow. But before I go ahead with that tomorrow, I just want to recall some experiments related to osmosis which you have done in your biology, all that. So to understand osmosis, whether it is taking place or not, to demonstrate osmosis, what that which you have done. You had used some such apparatus. We had a name for that. What is it? Some funnel. Different types of funnels, right? Buchner funnel, then of course normal funnel, then for filtering in different way. Then if you want to separating funnel, different funnels we have come across. For this funnel, what is the name that you want to give? Okay, it starts with the T. Getting it? No. Thistle funnel. Take thistle funnel. Right? What is that which you have to do there with that? You have tied this part with some egg membrane or with that onion peel, that thin layer, you have tied with that. And afterwards, you inverted it, poured water into the funnel, poured the solution into the funnel, and then afterwards, you make it stand in a beaker in which you have taken water, and afterwards, you found the height of water in the funnel, you waited for some time, and of course you saw an increase in the level of the solution. Increase in the level of solution. This solution was separated with the help of a membrane that you tied. Water entered inside. Height of the solution increased. What happened? Why it happened? It is because of osmosis. This experiment you have done to demonstrate that osmosis has taken place. Right at this time, this was the solution height, and after some time, this is the height of the solution in the result funnel. Osmosis has taken place. This experiment you have done. And if you don't want osmosis to take place, what you should have done? If you don't want osmosis to take place, what that which you should have done? Right? Construct all this setup for your experiment. Go and sit on that. Go and sit on that small surface which you have, so that water will not enter. So by sitting on the surface of solution in that result funnel, what is that which you did? You exerted pressure. Can you go and sit? No. As you can't go and sit, what is that which you do? Externally, we exert some pressure, right? You press and then afterwards hold it. Pressure will not take place. Osmosis will not take place. Now, what that which you should do? How much pressure if I exert? Not simply go and sit. If you go and sit, what will happen? Pressure will increase. Then afterwards, that membrane will burst, and then afterwards whole thing will go out. So, if you don't want osmosis to take place, you should know how much pressure I should exert on the surface of the solution, so that osmosis will not take place. That I call it as osmotic pressure. And that osmotic pressure is depending on concentration of the solution. It is proportional to that we will see tomorrow, and then with the help of that how to find out molar mass, that we will see tomorrow. Take care, right? Revise. Bye.